Alright folks, for our weekly drawing this week, I had quite a few people ask me to draw Bakugo, who is a character from an anime, My Hero Academia. I actually really like anime, and My Hero is actually one of my favorites, so I'm pretty excited to try drawing him. I don't think I've ever tried to draw Bakugo, so this will be fun for everybody. Alright, so I'm just going to do a portrait here. And what I want you all to notice when I'm drawing the portrait of Bakugo is that I'm going to exaggerate the proportions. We talked a little bit about proportion a couple weeks ago, and that is where everything looks like it belongs together, everything looks like it goes and is the right size and shape. When we look at anime and cartoon characters, the proportions of the face are going to be exaggerated. They're either going to be bigger than they should be, like the eyes are usually really big, or smaller than they should be. So like the nose and the mouth are usually really small. So that's something maybe you can notice when I'm drawing this today. All right. So like we did with the Jack Skellington drawing, I'm just going to start with the overall shape of the head. I'm just going to do a pencil sketch today, so all I have is my trusty mechanical pencil. And then I'm going to define the bottom as well. Give me an overall face shape. My line of symmetry. Remember, symmetry is when things are balanced or even on both sides. It's going to go right here, and that's going to help me keep the face even on both sides. And the eyes would be about midway in the face. The nose would be about halfway between the eyes and the chin. And the mouth would be about halfway between the nose and the chin, right about here. I imagine my eyes would be right in here. My neck will come right about there. And the shoulders, if you could picture that there were 3 heads here, there would be about a head's width on either side for the shoulders. The really common mistake people make is to draw the shoulders either like really, really wide or really, really narrow. But that's a pretty good rule of thumb, about 1 head width on either side. All right, now I'm just going to draw head and shoulders today. Should be a good place to start. Okay. So I'm looking at a picture of Bakugo and looking at the shape of his eyes. He's got a pretty sharp slant. He's kind of angry all the time. And like we talked about with the Jack Skellington drawing, when you have a line that angles down like this, it's going to give you more of like an angry look. And notice how big I'm making these eyes. They're much bigger than the eyes on an actual realistic portrait would be. That's okay because he's a cartoon character. All right, I'll roughly define those here. Now, most anime characters, they don't really do a lot of definition for the nose. So I'm just going to draw this little shape here that would kind of help me define where the nose would be. It's like the front of the nose and then a little shadow. And a lot of anime characters, that's about all they'll do for the nose. And for Bakugo, there's a couple different expressions I could draw for him. I think he could be frowning, he could be excited. I think I'm going to give him kind of a little grin here. So from about the corners of the eyes, I'm going to exaggerate that a little bit. Notice how that line's a little bit lopsided to make it look like he's sort of smirking. Actually, just where his teeth are. And for his hero costume, he's got a mask on, so you can't really see his eyebrows. But I'm going to sketch in the shape of that mask. It kind of goes around his eyes like this. It does flare out here. Make sure to define the shape of his face here now that I know it's going to work. Now for your hairline, if you imagine, here's where your eyes are. If you took your eyeball and went up 3 spaces, the size of the eye, that would give you about where the hair starts. Bakugo's hair comes down. And notice, I'm not going to draw every single hair on his head. So we kind of think about, especially with the cartoon look, of hair in sort of bigger shapes and just sort of suggest that overall. And it kind of comes down. Sort of spiky, fluffy combination here. Right about to his eyes. Now for his collar, he has this shape that wraps around his neck. So it comes in this blocky shape here. And again, I'm just going to kind of suggest the shoulders here, and we're not going to draw too much more than that. He also has these big spiky parts kind of come off the back of his costume here. So think about those jagged lines that we practiced when we were talking about line. Get you a couple of those in here. And I'll take care of the back of his costume. Alright, so what I want to do now is just spend a little time cleaning this up, adding a little bit of value. And we'll see how it looks when I'm done. Okay, so I'm pretty much done with my sketch here. Just a couple things to note that I did go in and add some values to some darker areas around that kind of make this sketch pop a little bit. When you're adding your value, notice how in each section I've sort of kept to the same pencil stroke. So like on the mask, I'm going in this diagonal direction. For the fins he's got behind him, I'm imagining I'm coming kind of out from the center of his head, so they kind of go out this way. Or for the clothes, this horizontal stroke. On his hair, I added just very light shading, very light value, because he has very light hair. And then some highlights here that I suggested. This anime tends to have a very sort of shiny look, so you can imagine that these are these really bright highlights that show up here. For the background, I wanted to do something that kind of gave him a little bit of an aura, like a menacing aura. If you're not familiar with the show, Bakugo can make things basically explode with his hands. So I just took the side of my pencil and very loosely added this texture. So it almost looks maybe like smoke or like fire behind him. As always, if you give this a shot, I would love to see what you do. Thank you for the suggestions, folks. And thanks for watching.